Well, we're starting out this morning looking pretty good for a Monday morning with all the markets up, all the equities up, like almost everything is up. And Tesla is up as well and has been up quite strongly all morning so far. We'll see. We'll check it all out, of course, near the end. Plus, if you stay to the end, I am going to have a partly personal, well, no, a very personal commentary at the end. Yeah, you could call it political. I think it goes beyond politics. But, that'll be at the end for those of you who are interested in that type of thing. All right, let's see. Let me jump in here. We've got AJ again. I know there's been a lot of AJ recently, but he's been creating a lot of content that has been valuable to the community. So he says, here's some thoughts on Tesla's current valuation level. And it's not an outlook, he says, just his analysis. He says, bottom line, at present, Tesla appears to be valued in line with historic trading levels, unless there is a significant, meaning more than a 15% quarter-over-quarter EPS growth acceleration. So, a 50% increase in the growth pattern, I think, is unlikely. Please note, the moment the market prices in earnings acceleration, for example, from FSD, the stock is obviously poised to go up. Okay, we get that. Yes. You can see that Tesla always, except for some brief outliers, traded at a significant premium. It is unlikely for this premium to fade away in the near to medium term with new products on the horizon. Yes, and he says that Tesla is trading right now at a true PE of 70 times. So yeah, I think what AJ is saying is something that I've been saying for 3 weeks at least, which is the market is already pricing in something for FSD complete, something for increased sales of FSD in China, something for, and probably also Europe, but definitely China. Something is in there for the FSD to actually go to level 4 levels, level 5 levels. That would, of course, increase car sales for sure, because people want to get in on the deal. They're pricing in something for the new vehicle. They're pricing in something for Optimus. They're pricing in something for Cybercab. So all these things, there's something there. It's impossible. I was having this conversation last night. The street is not totally stupid, as much as we'd like to think they are. There are people out there that want to have something in the game in preparation for what might be what I know and are going to be the biggest deals ever in the history of the stock market. People are starting to say, yeah, I got to have something in the market for that. Well, Gary Black, on the other hand, much more conservative, says this morning, the next Tesla data point is second quarter deliveries due out in about 8 days. In his opinion, Wall Street remains way too high at 442,000. I think I saw 440,000 earlier. And that would be a 5% year-over-year lower. He says his second quarter estimate is now 420,000, 10% compared to last year's second quarter, and less than the first quarter by 8.5%, which was, I'm sorry, and then the first quarter was also lower. Wall Street's second quarter estimates have been coming down in recent weeks, but are likely to fall more between now and next week. Perhaps a bigger potential negative is full year 24 delivery estimates, where Wall Street is still predicting almost no year-over-year growth compared to the 1.811 last year. He's now at 1,700,000 for full year 2024, which is likely to drop further if Tesla misses again in second quarter deliveries. Another delivery miss is likely to cause Tesla full year 24 estimates to fall further, et cetera, et cetera. Finally, he says Tesla full year 24 PE of 75 should come down as investors start discounting the risk of year-over-year volume declines. This is what I just said, the opposite. I think we're seeing it this morning. We're seeing evidence that the market is going up, and I think they're starting to build in more opportunity costs on these potentials. Absent EV advertising and a launch of a $25,000 compact to expand Tesla's TAM, blah, blah, blah. That's Gary's major, emphasis has been on advertising. I think I'd like to see more advertising. I think maybe we will see more advertising. And we are going to get the $25,000 or some version close to a $25,000 car later this year or early in next year. While robotaxi and Optimus could lead to a Tesla upside revision, by 2026, uncertainty about future volume and EPS growth could lead more investors to adopt a wait-and-see approach. I think this is not true. I think this is where Gary's completely wrong. So, for instance, Morningstar listed Tesla #1 this morning on its list of what stock funds are buying, and giving it a fair value estimate of 200. Steve Goldstein of Morningstar said he's looking for improvements in the second half. I would also be looking for improvements in the second half, with or without full self-driving complete, with or without full self-driving going to level 4, with or without robotaxi. I think the second half, we're going to see increases in sales. Why do I think that? I think that because this is a lull. It's a low point, a lull, and the lull will pass, and we will begin to see more activity. What happened to Gary Black's Cybertruck halo effect? For instance, more and more Cybertrucks on the road, thousands and thousands now, more and more thousands going out there, calling attention to Tesla. That halo effect alone will be important. All right. Lots of other reasons. I could give you a list. Maybe I will put together such a list. Maybe even Brian White, and I will discuss that on Tuesday. Later on today, Brian White and I will be talking about what each of the factories are doing right now. And then maybe for Tuesday, we'll do a list of the reasons why the second half is likely to be much stronger than the first half. All right, from Barron's this morning. On Sunday, a Tesla delivery researcher using the pseudonym Troy Teslike, we know him, published his update second quarter estimate. He's looking for 416,000 cars. Everybody seems to be now in this range of 400. When I say everybody, a lot of people are in the range 415 to about 425. Brian White again, an outlier. We'll talk about that later this morning. To project results, Teslike aggregates registration data in the US and sales data from Europe, et cetera, et cetera. The 416 figure is almost 11% down compared to last year after the 9% drop we just talked about. All right, this is Randy Kirk. Please hit like. Please hit subscribe. More and more subscribers. Thank you very much for all of you hitting that subscribe button. If you haven't subscribed yet, why not? And then please hit notify if you want to be reminded about Brian White later today and Larry Goldstein on Monday night. So that's going to be phenomenal. And then, of course, joining Patreon. If joining Patreon would be fantastic right now, that would be such a nice thing to do. To help the channel, because the numbers are down right now. The numbers, and I don't think it's the show. I think it's YouTube anyway. Yeah. Anyway, this is from the 𝐓𝐫𝐨 letter this morning. Breaking: the CBO has raised the U.S. government's deficit forecast. Pay attention here. The CBO has raised the U.S. government's deficit forecast for fiscal year 2024 from 1.5 trillion to 1.9 trillion. Or 6.7% of GDP. This is coming in, what is it? We're almost in July, end of June. October is the end of the year. They're going to get much sharper, much closer to the real number. That is a dramatic increase. That's almost a 25% increase from their previous estimate. This will be the highest deficit since 2021, when the deficit hit 2.8 trillion in response to the pandemic lockdowns. By 2034, the deficit is expected to reach 2.9 trillion, or 6.9% of GDP, totaling a whopping 22.1 trillion over the 2025 to 2034 period. I don't report on this all the time because I think, well, I don't know why not. Okay, but this is getting out of control. How could they have a change in this estimate from 1.5 to 1.9 trillion? This is nuttiness. What is wrong with this? This administration. The CBO projection also assumes that net interest will reflect over 50% of the budget deficit over the next decade. Net interest will reflect over 50% of the budget deficit. These numbers all assume no recessions and lower interest rates. Somebody has to come in and cut the federal government by 10%. Just, you come in, you don't have a stand in place. You have the military, you give them a 2% increase. That's it. Everything else is cut 10%. Not zero-based budgeting. No, you cut 10% across the board. And some departments you get rid of completely. You got to do Argentina. If you're not following what Javier is doing down there in Milei down in Argentina. We need Javier Milei to come up and help us out in the United States. This is just crazy. What happens if the rate cuts are delayed and the recession hits? That's what 𝐲𝐵ACE is asking this morning. Well, let's see what the markets are saying on Monday. Not a lot of news reporting this morning, but let's see where the markets are going. All right, we've got Tesla still up 236. It had been up as much as 5, so it is actually off of its highs for the morning. We have got the NASDAQ, which has been up and down, is now currently down 2.83. The Dow Jones, which has been straight up all morning, sitting at 327 positive, and this S&P at 1851 up. So all over the place this morning, except for the Magnificent Seven, which is all up, except for NVIDIA down $4.39. Remember, that would be $43 in a previous lifetime about a week ago. Okay, 8 days ago, that would be $43. Yeah, NVIDIA, people are obviously pulling out a little bit of their winnings out of NVIDIA. I don't think there's any fundamental problems in NVIDIA, probably just a little too far, too fast. Down on Friday, down again this morning. We'll see how that plays out over the next days or weeks. We have got the Cathie Woods all up except for PayPal. So generally, equities, generally in the NASDAQ is back up again. So let's look at the percentages. We have got the Dow Jones up 0.86, NASDAQ up just a single percent, S&P up 0.35, Tesla up 1.21. At 224 up right now. Okay, let's go see what else is happening, because this morning it seemed like people were just buying everything. Yep, they're even buying the bonds. So the 10-year right now, oops, just went to unchanged. Just as I'm looking, it goes to unchanged. So people stopped buying bonds. The 2-year is up 0.8 basis point. The 2-month is unchanged this morning. We still have, let's take a look at the inversion here, because we do that every time. We have got a just under 50 on the 2-year. We have 427, and we have still about 110 basis points on the 2-month. Okay, let's go on into the oils. Oil is up another 41 cents this morning after being lower, I think, on Friday. But anyway, 81.14. And we've got Brent also up 37 cents this morning, 85.61. Natural gas up 137, but still well under the $3 where it had been earlier. Gold also up this morning, 980, 23.41, right around where it's been. Silver up 0.12, copper up 0.14, sitting at 444, way off of the $5 where it had been. And you've got the dollar slipping a little bit this morning. The yen is briefly up, it says. We have got Bitcoin. And listen to this now. Okay, some of the money that's going into equities might be coming from Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is down another 2,676 today, 61,415, completely breaking through all support on recent levels. So I don't know why, don't have a clue, just reporting what I'm reporting. Okay, let me give you that personal commentary now if you are interested. It was very hard for me to concentrate this morning on putting together this session. And the reason for that is because a bunch of yo-yos with masks on, wearing all kinds of different garb to protect their identities, went in and disrupted some disrupted things in front of a Jewish temple in my old neighborhood. I lived in West Los Angeles, as you know, maybe for 49 years. Just a few blocks from where I lived in the Pico district is a very large Jewish community, practicing Jews, lots of temples and synagogues. And these yo-yos, these horrific gangsters, decided to disrupt what was going on at that temple this morning, or I'm sorry, yesterday morning. I saw beatdowns of women. I saw people just running after Jews and starting fights with them. We saw cops doing nothing. If you think, if you can believe that this is isolated, it's not isolated. It's happening all over the United States. You can believe that it's just people that don't like what Israel is doing with regard to Palestine. You can believe that if you want. No, this is anti-Semitism. This is anti-Semitism. It's the beginning of something that if we don't stop it, It's going to be horrific. And you can say, oh, it could never happen in America. It's happening in America right now. It's not happening with 12 people or 25 people or 100 people. If it was the Ku Klux Klan, if it was neo-Nazis, if it were white skinheads, then this thing would be, the U.S. National Guard would be out in big evidence. You would have massive amounts of arrests. And if this was January 6th, you'd have people chasing down grandmas. No, you've got basically governments standing around with their finger in their ear and doing absolutely nothing. I am incensed, and that the government better move quickly, because they talk about the right wing somehow being the left. The current administration says that the right wing is the greatest terrorist threat to the United States, while you see these yo-yos out in the street actually creating the terror. I'm sorry, it's very bizarre. I don't quite understand it. But if the current administration would like to see conservatives and Christians and people of goodwill who do not think that that Nazism is so, don't want to see anti-Semitism raising its ugly head in America. If they want to see people like that rise up and start to create some resistance, stand around and do nothing, because eventually I believe that people of goodwill in this country will stand up. We'll see what happens. I'm hoping that the governments will start to respond. The Los Angeles mayor responded appropriately this morning. One of the city council people responded appropriately this morning. That was two. As far as I've been able to see, those were the only two that said something, that something needs to be done, that the LAPD needs to crack. They did not say crackheads. I'm not going to say crackheads. Did I say anything remotely close to crack? They need to step up immediately and completely eliminate this fascist activity in this city and across the United States, across the world. I have no power to speak for Germany or for some of these other countries where this anti-Semitic behavior is taking place. We need to stop it in America. That's where we do have, where I have a vote, at least. Okay, that's it. Please like, subscribe, hit notify. Brian White later, Larry Goldstein in the afternoon. And yeah, please join Patreon if you'd like to help support the channel. Who knows, maybe what I just said will upset YouTube. We'll see what happens. All right, that's all I got for you. It's been great talking to you.